But of course you must have known why. In God's name, would I know? I've always trusted you, always. But I lived with Jason. He was my friend. One of our best friends. He just lost his wife. Why would I think you slept with him? I wasn't sleeping with him. I was comforting him, having fun. He needed someone to take care of him. He needed comforting, he needed physical touch to help with emotional healing. So hold his hand. Give him a hug. Don't sleep with him, not when you're married to me. He was devastated. He's your best friend. My heart was breaking for him, so you slept with him? I comforted him. Don't make it sound so tasteless. It's tasteless. Can't believe you. Can't believe you. Just get out of this house. I'm not leaving. I can't explain to you what happened if I'm not here with you. You've already explained everything. Now I have to decide what to do about it. So get your act together and get out of this house. Or so help me God. I'll throw you out. Patrick, you're overreacting. It's nothing to get upset about. A good friend was in need, and all I did was help him through a difficult time by sleeping with him. Stop saying that. He was in pain, and I did everything I could to ease it by having fun with him. Stop it. I did something good, and you're trying to belittle it. Get out. I'm going out for a snack, and when I come back in an hour, you better be gone. She didn't disappear. I walked into our house from the garage, and she was sitting at the kitchen table. Have you scratched your crazy ego enough? Are you ready to have an adult conversation about this? I looked at her angrily and walked past her, heading up the stairs to our bedroom. I could see that she made no effort to pack any bags or even get her things together. Good. If she's not going to leave, then I will. I'm not staying in the same house with her a minute longer than necessary. I pulled 3 suitcases out of the attic and started stuffing clothes into them. I tried to be quick, albeit sloppy, so I was almost done when Marlene came to get me. What are you doing, Patrick? She called, using my full name. She's been sleeping with a friend of ours for 3 weeks, and I'm the one misbehaving? Unbelievable. What's unbelievable? She continued. If you don't want to go, I'll go. Please don't go. We have to get through this together. I ignored her, stuffing the last of my clothes that might fit. I went to the master bathroom and gathered my toiletries. Patrick, please, you're being ridiculous. Stop acting like a petulant child. No one stole your toys. No, I growled. You gave that son of a gun attention a lot more than my favorite toys. I love you, Patty, you know that, but you don't own me. Jason needed someone to share his grief, and I was there. He's our friend. This means nothing to us, to our marriage. He'll never be my friend again, I said. And that means that's it. The end of our marriage. I zipped up the last bag, grabbed 2 suitcases, and put them in the trunk of my car. Marlene followed me down the stairs, talking the whole time. Patty, please stop this nonsense. I can see your ego is hurt, but it was really nothing. I was just helping a friend. He's one of your best friends, she pleaded. He was. Now he's dead to me. As dead as his dead wife, Sarah. That didn't stop her for long. I'd known Jason since we were 12, when his family moved next door to ours. He was an old friend of mine, and one of the 3 guys I usually counted on in any situation. But this betrayal ended it all. Please slow down, Patty. Talk to me, let me explain. She followed me into my office. I was packing up my desk, and she was leaning against mine, against the opposite wall. You've already made it clear enough. There's nothing more to explain. He was sad you slept with him. I'm leaving you. Please, Patty, don't go. Stay here. We've always talked about everything. We're going to expand the family. We have so much ahead of us. There's no need for this drama. Everything will be fine, you'll see. You love me. I love you. My feelings for you haven't changed a bit. I closed my backpack and looked her straight in the eye. But my feelings for you have changed. Goodbye, Marlene. You'll be contacted by my lawyer, she gasped as I walked out. An avalanche of calls and messages started as soon as I drove away from the house. I deleted everything from Marlene without reading or listening. I went to the gym to release some of the bubbling energy. It helped, but not enough. After showering and clearing my phone of Marlene's latest messages, I checked into a motel near work. I wasn't worried about unwanted visitors, however. My phone kept buzzing. So, after another couple of hours, I finally blocked Marlene's number. My relief was short-lived, though. The calls from my parents and my sister began. These conversations were short. "What's going on, Patty?" Marlene called and said you dumped her. "Did she tell you why?" "No, you were just upset. You know, every marriage has its rough edges. Patty, you have to stick together and work through them." "She slept with Jason for 3 weeks." "What? She slept with Jason for 3 weeks to help him work through his grief? But that doesn't make any sense at all. Are you sure about that?" "She told me." "Oh, you must have misheard. This can't be happening. It's just a misunderstanding. You need to work things out with her. She's your wife, darling. Goodbye, Mom." I had much the same conversation with Carrie. Apparently, Marlene's infidelity was my problem, not hers, at least according to my family. I must have missed the part of Florence Nightingale's story where she entertained all her patients by bringing them back to health. "I told you don't ever talk to me again," he said. But I pressed cancel before he could say a word. Then I blocked his number too. The next day wasn't much better. Marlene was using a friend's phone, so I just started blocking those numbers when she used them. I deleted voicemails as soon as I heard they were from her or from friends calling on her behalf. Her messages showed her growing frustration. "Talk to me, Patty. Please come home and talk to me. We need to have 2 conversations, honey. Call me. I'm worried about you. It's no big deal, talk to me. Call me. Stop this nonsense and come home. Damn it, Patty, call me. Blah, blah, blah. Damn it." The time between texts and calls was lengthening, so either she was getting harder and harder to find or the phones, or she realized I wasn't going to answer. As I watched the game, I couldn't remember what I'd eaten or if I'd eaten at all. I do remember going outside for some fresh air, but it was overcast with occasional rain, so I didn't stay outside very long. Monday came right on schedule and I got to work. I'm reviewing insurance claims. It's not very exciting, but it has to be done, and my reviews say I'm pretty good at it. Plus, it pays pretty well for it. The first thing I did was meet with my boss and told him that Marlene and I had broken up, so I would need some time during the day to take care of things. He said, "Okay," but he expected me to stay late to finish my work. I was fine with that. What else was I supposed to do? Marlene called 10 minutes after I sat down at my desk. I recognized the number, but I had to answer the phone as part of my job, and I knew she was relentless when it came to using the phone. "What do you want, Marlene?" "Oh, thank God, Patty. Please come home. I love you, and I miss you so much. We need to talk." "No, we don't. You've said everything I need to hear on the subject. You just don't understand. It didn't mean anything. I do understand, and that's all you. You made your position very clear, and I think I've been just as clear about mine. So let's just move on." "Oh, thank you, sweetie. I'm so glad to hear you say that. What time will you be home tonight?" "I have everything I need to make lasagna. Could you pick up a nice bottle of wine on the way home?" "I'm not coming home, Marlene. When I say move on, I mean divorce. Infidelity is a deal breaker for me. No, you can't divorce me. I love you, and I know you love me. Come home so we can talk, please." I heard her crying. "There's nothing to talk about, Marlene. This is as simple as it gets. We have opposing views on the central issue of our marriage. Now I have to get back to work. You know how Will feels about personal calls at work. Don't hang up. We need to talk. If you hang up, I'll call you right back, and I'll keep calling until you agree to meet with me to settle this whole thing." She had leverage here, so I agreed. "I won't go home, but I'll meet you at Julia's at 6:30. "Thank you, Patty. Thank you. I love you. I'll see you there." I just hung up, and the rest of the workday sucked. I went to the bank and split our joint accounts. I called our credit cards but couldn't close them until we paid them off. I did, however, ask for lower credit limits. I called our HR department and changed the beneficiaries on my insurance policy and 401k account. We'll have to deal with the house later. It was mine before we got married, but Marlene was a big contributor to the mortgage payments. Thank goodness we had no children to worry about. I was careful to take enough time to leave work and be at Julia's by the appointed time. As I parked, I saw Marlene's car, just as well. I don't believe in the nonsense about taking the high ground and controlling the battlefield unless you're fighting a real battle. In those things, you say what you mean and let the cards fall where they may. I found her easily enough and sat across from her without saying hello. Marlene smiled at me but without much confidence. Hi, sweetie. I'm glad you decided to come. I want to put all this behind you so you can come home. I just stared at her. Her smile faded a little, but she was game. I'm sorry you're hurt, but it was really nothing. I don't love Jason. He needed me and I was there for him as a friend who slept with him for 3 weeks. Please stop, Patty. This isn't really helping our situation. Apparently, I'm the first guy in history to be horned in by a more pathetic man. Do you know how that makes me feel? She sighed. You're not pathetic. I love you, just you. I miss you. I need you. Please come home. You've been having fun with Jason for 3 weeks. Maybe you should ask him to come home. I don't love Jason, but you slept with him for 3 weeks. She gritted her teeth. Hard. And her eyes popped out of their orbits from the strain. Please just stop, Patty. I can see you're in a lot of pain. I thought you loved me, and loved Jason enough to realize it was just kindness. There was no passion. There was no love. I was comforting him. That's all it was. You cheated on me. Damn it. Patty's voice rose. Is that all you're going to say? I'm trying to explain what happened, and you're just being stubborn. It didn't mean anything. Then why did you do it, Marlene? If it didn't mean anything, it got her back on her feet. Honey, I know you feel it was wrong. I'm not defending myself. I can see the pain in your eyes. I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I was just being compassionate. I thought you'd understand, but we can put it behind us. We can go back to the way things were. Just give me a chance, and I'll prove it to you. I'll do anything to make it up to you. It's too late. There are some things you can't take back. Marlene tried to grab my hand, but I yanked my hands away. Her frustration showed in a sharp intake of breath. Talk to me, Patty, please. Tell me what I can do. Please, we need to fix this. Sign the papers when you've been served. She didn't sign the papers instead. She filed a counter-complaint, contesting everything in my petition and adding a request for relationship counseling. I resisted, but the judge ruled in favor of counseling. So, late Tuesday night, I sat next to Marlene in front of Joanna Dillo, MFT. What would you like to accomplish in your time here, Patrick? I want to do anything that will expedite the divorce. So, you're not interested in saving your marriage? I don't have a marriage. She violated the terms by invalidating it. Now we just have to make it official. Marlene, I take it you have another agenda. Marlene was already crying. I just want this nightmare to be over. I want Patty to come home where he belongs. I want my husband back in our house, back in our bed. I miss him so much. As I understand it, the problem is that you had sex with your friend for 3 weeks while he was grieving the loss of his wife. Is that correct? Yes, Patty and I went to the funeral, and I took some more time off to help Jason around the house. Patty left because he had to go to work. Jason was so lost, so depressed. I started out just holding him while he cried, but pretty soon he started clinging to me, then kissing me, then caressing me. A couple of days later, we slept together, but it was just sex. I don't love him and never have. It was just kindness to a good friend who was suffering so much. And you didn't discuss this with Patrick? I did, as soon as I got back from St. Louis. I told him what happened. What did you expect his reaction to be? I thought he'd understand. Jason had been a friend of Patty since they were kids. He saw how sad Jason was at the funeral. I thought Patty would understand that I was just helping Jason deal with his grief. Marlene sobbed and wiped her nose. It was just sex. It didn't mean anything. Patrick seems to see it differently. Sex should be the only thing we have between us that belongs to us. That's how we know we're completely committed to each other. But I told you, I don't love anyone else. From the day we met, my heart has always belonged only to you. Prove it. What do you mean, prove it? You know it's true. You know it. How do I know you love me? I tell you that every day. Words come easy. Actions show the truth. I do 100 things for you with love every day. Like what? I cook you dinner, I kiss you all the time. I listen to what you say to me. I make love to you. You cook dinner for our friends and families. You kiss your parents and my parents. You listen to everything your sister tells you. And you cheated on me with Jason. So, tell me, what do you do for me alone? Don't be ridiculous. It's different with you. Is it? How do I know that our loyalty was the only thing we had that was meant for each other? And you gave that up for Jason. Now there's nothing that belongs to just us. That's not true. We have our love. I don't love Jason. I don't love anyone the way I love you. But you can't prove it to me, and the way you just cavalierly brushed aside our promises to each other tells me that I can't trust you in my heart. So we're done. No, stop saying that you don't understand. I think we've gone as far as we can go together, Joanna said softly but definitely. I'd like to spend the rest of today's session alone with Patrick. Can you come back at 4 on Thursday, Marlene? That's our next session, and then we'll have an hour to work together. Marlene left sobbing. I was very uncomfortable being alone with the therapist. Is there any way you can opt out of the divorce? No, that's pretty definite. So no, under no circumstances. If she was drugged, that would be a different matter. I'd give her everything I had, and then kill the bastard who did it. One drunken slip-up, I don't know if I could have forgiven that, but at least maybe there would have been a way back. But this, she knowingly chose to sleep with Jason for 3 weeks, spending nights in his bed as if she were his wife. That's such a massive betrayal. I'll never get over it. Do you think there's a difference between having sex and making love? Of course there is. So, she could have just had sex with Jason. She could still just make love to you. How can you tell the difference? I don't know. Can you tell the difference? I can't. I know my own feelings, but I don't know yours or anyone else's, except by what I see. I paused. Do you know how to determine how important a commitment is to someone? Tell me. It all depends on what you have to sacrifice to fulfill them. Monogamy is really hard. Having one partner for 50 or 60 years, giving up all others is hard. There are boredom, misunderstandings, maladjusted moods, conflicts, and all sorts of other things that can tempt you. So, when you choose to sacrifice intimacy with everyone else in the world, you are demonstrating how committed you are to your partner, in my opinion. This is how you find out if someone loves you the way a partner should. They are willing to make huge sacrifices day in and day out to show you that they love you. When she made the decision to cheat on you with Jason, Marlene showed me that she was not willing to make that sacrifice. And there's nothing more she could sacrifice to make up for it. If I stayed married to her, I'd have to defend myself every day against that kind of betrayal, and that's not the kind of marriage I want to be a part of. So, there's no chance, not a chance. Not a chance. Do you believe that people can make mistakes? One act doesn't define a person. Yes, but a mistake is a one-time mistake. It's not a repeatable action. There's no turning back from it. Then I'll need to prepare Marlene for a divorce. There's no reason to waste time if you're not ready to reconcile. This was a pleasant surprise, so I'm not needed here on Thursday. No, you don't. She's devastated. And your presence here would just twist the knife. I understand your feelings, and I can see how strong they are. But if you change your mind, I'd be happy to work with you again. Either alone or with Marlene. Thank you, but I'm not changing my mind. I haven't changed my mind. Marlene was inconsolable every time I saw her. I stopped going to meetings with our Lord lawyers because she'd start crying as soon as she saw me. I didn't like seeing her in pain, but I was hurting too. Rage owned me for the first few weeks, but I also became numb once I got my own little apartment and immersed myself in my new routine. Coming home seemed so exhausting that I stayed at work as late as I could. My work had never been more efficient, and my coworkers were infuriated that my extensive documentation made them look worse. I really missed Marlene. Her absence was felt intuitively, and I had gotten used to the cramp that gripped my heart. I lay in bed wondering if I had made the right choice. I missed her because I really did love her so much. She was kind and generous and smart, and she made me laugh all the time. She was playful and sincere in bed, but she accidentally decided to sleep with my friend, and I just knew I could never again fully trust her to protect my heart. She didn't love me, at least not in the way I needed her to. Call me insecure, call me stubborn, but marriage is supposed to be a safe haven. is supposed to dissipate stresses, not concentrate them. And the realization that she had cheated on me with Jason, fully aware of it, was causing me a lot of stress. The year that followed our divorce was hard on me. Marlene may have been inconsolable, but I felt crushed too. I hardly went out anywhere, despite the efforts of friends and coworkers. I hardly saw my family. They were so reluctant to condemn Marlene's actions that I could only take it in small doses. And I'm not sure they didn't see Marlene more often than they saw me. So, I mostly sat in my apartment watching sports and logging onto internet sites. When the tension became too much to handle without a release, I got a release of a different kind when Jason tracked me down. I think to apologize. He was waiting for me when I got home late from work, so there was no one around. "Hey, buddy, I want to clear the air," was all he had time to say before my fist touched his ear. We were about the same height, and neither of us had much experience in fights, but I had rage on my side. I scrubbed the sidewalk with it. He left town with 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and a swollen jaw, and several bruises all over his body. I may have hit him in the balls with my knee, but it wasn't a clean hit. After that, I made a couple of quiet trips to St. Louis. Jason had always been a car enthusiast. He was unlucky enough to have his M3 completely wrecked while he was at a bar watching Monday Night Football. All the windows and mirrors were shattered. The paint was deeply gouged from nose to stern. The body was badly dented. The tires were slashed, and the interior was spray-painted bright red. His insurance covered most of the damage, and he used the payout to buy a used Porsche. Unfortunately for him, about 4 months later, someone smashed the driver's side window and threw a Molotov cocktail at him as the car alarm howled. It was very expensive for him to get insurance again. No one was looking for me, but even if they had, my credit cards had receipts from bars near my apartment. As for revenge, it probably wasn't enough. It was too modest a satisfaction, but prison didn't appeal to me. In the end, Jason had to live with being the person he was. I hadn't seen Marlene since the divorce, and I wouldn't let anyone tell me about her. She had hurt me deeply. Still, I hoped she had found someone to share her life with. We had a lot in common, but it turned out that there was one huge chasm in the way we thought about marriage. When I started dating again, I expected to be let down, so I didn't risk my heart at all. I disappointed more than one woman. I finally realized that I was destined to be alone unless I had the courage to trust someone again. So, I decided to be well-intentioned and talk about my experience with Marlene and my expectations of any relationship. I also needed to get back in shape, so I joined a weekend mountain biking club. My first day with them turned out to be Priya's first day with them as well. She was tall and slender, with long and thick black hair. We were pretty far behind the rest of the group, so we spent most of the ride together, talking as we caught our breath. She was lively and savvy, and I laughed a lot. When we loaded our bikes at the end of the ride, I wasn't moving very fast, and she seemed to be slowing down too. "I know it's last minute," I said, my heart beating too fast. "But if you're free tonight, would you like to go out to dinner?" Her smile was dazzling. "Yes, I would like that. What did you have in mind? Something casual? What's your favorite food? Italian, doesn't everyone love it? It's important that I love it too." We exchanged contact information and went home to get cleaned up. I picked her up at 6 o'clock, and we had a very pleasant, low-key evening. I got a nice hug and a quick kiss, and it was even more than I expected, so I floated home a happy man. We met regularly after that. I was frank about my breakup with Marlene. I learned that she'd had 2 relationships that had gone bad due to cheating, so we were both a bit reserved. We weren't physically intimate for 4 months. We lay intertwined in her bed, her firm breasts pressed against my chest. I pulled back and kissed her, then looked into her glowing dark eyes. "If we're going to make this move, I have to be the one for you, and you will be the one for me." Priya smiled and kissed me back. Exclusive. I liked the sound of that. She was an act. I've loved temperamental and loud women before. We moved in together after another 4 months. Priya was warm, generous, and down to earth. I was direct and honest. She was organized but flexible enough, and I had a good sense of direction. We were very compatible, yet different enough to keep things interesting. In addition to bicycling and Italian food, We both loved action movies. However, I didn't understand her fondness for quilting, and my passion for curling confused her as well. We both watched Dancing with the Stars, but I gravitated toward the athletes, and she liked the actresses. I worked hard to clearly visualize what I was thinking at every turn, and Priya reciprocated. We never had any blow-ups. Disagreements were resolved long before they became an issue. We became so close because we could trust each other 100%. No secrets meant no barriers, and trust flourished. Sometimes I caught myself wishing I had communicated better when I was married to Marlene, one of my distant regrets. Marlene may have doomed our marriage, but I wasn't without fault either. I just assumed we shared the same expectations about monogamy. She probably thought so too. We caught each other off guard, and I wonder if we could have avoided the whole unpleasant affair if we had talked beforehand. But we didn't, so we hurt each other, and we're both going to have to live with that in the future. That experience made me, I think, a much better partner for PRA, and it eventually led us to the altar and to a completely satisfying marriage. Our son, Siddharth, whom we call Sid, was born 3 years after we got married, and our daughter, Fayed, followed almost 2 years later. An Indian-Irish medley is not common, so we are pretty much unique. Rule number 1 is that nothing is more important than loyalty.